On March 9th, 2020, Broward College announced it would take all of its classes online due to the coronavirus pandemic. We were just about to go into rehearsals for the play you're about to see. This play concerns the actions of a pharmaceutical company's CFO and his part in the opioid epidemic. Now, the play was written for the stage, but our intrepid cast and crew was simply unwilling to abandon ship. The result is the production you're about to see. We added a narrator so you could envision the scenery and you could envision the action, and we added some images so there would be some theatricality, and we learned a whole host of apps and technology so that we could rehearse this show remotely. All of the acting you're about to see was done by our student actors on their devices from their homes. We met on Zoom to rehearse, and I edited together the best bits to form this loving patchwork you're about to see. Along the way, we learned a lot, not the least of which is how to be resilient and continue to create art during a pandemic. I sincerely hope you enjoy the show. Remember, there's no recording of any kind allowed, as this production is protected by copyright laws. However, you can unwrap candy anytime you like, and if you need a bathroom break, by all means, pause the video. The production is 1 hour long. Now sit back, relax in the comfort of your home, and enjoy the show.
The time? Now. The place? A city somewhere in the USA. It's a busy street. People rushing by on their way to someplace important, it would seem. A man stands at the curb on his phone. He is polished, professional, clearly important. It's a day like any other day. Or is it?
The picture of success. Check out his fancy shoes.
A leader in his field who no one can refuse. Inherited his wealth with counterings offshore.
Had millions at the start, but craves a billion more. Worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money will get you so far.
worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money will make you a star. And who will pay the price for all his fancy things? A driver for his car, nice watch and diamond rings. What choices did he make?
what lives did he affect?
What pain did he ignore? What code did he reject?
Worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money will get you so far.
worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money will make you a star.
The picture of success. He never stopped to think. Pursuit of cash was king. Oh, the picture of success. But now he's on the brink.
When people want the truth, he flashes his fake smile. Jesus, while wealth accrues, installs a costly trial.
worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money is your only goal.
worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money may cost you your soul.
worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money is your only goal. Worshipping money.
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money.
worshipping money,
Worshipping money.
Worshipping money. Worshipping money. Money. Money may cost you your soul.
A woman shoves Chandler to the ground. He sits up, shocked.
What the hell?
Didn't you see that taxi? He jumped the curve.
What? No,
Are you okay?
I think so. Yes.
She takes out a hypodermic needle and shoves it into Chandler's neck.
Good.
Chandler collapses, blackout. Who could have predicted such a sudden change of fortune? Certainly not our anti-hero. Lights up on a courtroom. Chandler is seated in a chair in the center of the room. To the left and right are chairs where witnesses are seated. Chandler is only now awakening. 2 tables are situated left and right, with an attorney seated at the table on the left. There's an empty chair at the table on the right. A judge oversees the proceedings.
Court is now in session in the case of the People versus Richard Chandler. The court will call first appearances, guilty pleas, and other summary matters. Contested matters will be heard afterwards. Mr. Chandler, you have the right to be informed of your charges and the penalty for those charges. Mr. Chandler, do you have an attorney?
An attorney? What is this?
The judge gestures to the audience.
We've assembled a jury of your peers to assess your guilt and the charges levied against you.
What charges? This is ridiculous. I was kidnapped.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to make its opening statement.
What kind of court is this?
The prosecution may proceed.
You've got to be kidding me.
Mr. Chandler, you will remain quiet until you are addressed. Court is now in session.
Clearly, this is some kind of sick prank.
Your Honor?
Proceed with your statement.
Do you know who I am? I'll have you all arrested.
Unless you want to be charged with contempt, I suggest you silence yourself and listen.
Beth Sarno, attorney for the plaintiffs, rises and addresses Chandler.
2,000 now deceased because of lies you told, and profits were increased with every drug you sold. You directed a campaign, you swore your drugs were weak, then blamed with such disdain the victims who can't speak. That's what we know, we've got the proof. That's what we know, we'll show that it's the truth. It's all here, Judge. We've documented lies about the drugs you made, with riches as your prize, while patients were betrayed. The emails prove you knew the message would mislead, and as your fortune grew, you watched with shameless greed. That's what we know, we've got the proof. That's what we know, we'll show that it's the truth. Justice will win in this court here today. Time for the truth, time to make this man pay. That's what we know, we've got the proof. That's what we know, and now you know the truth.
Certainly doesn't look good for Mr. Chandler, but perhaps we should examine this proof and decide for ourselves. What do you say, Judge?
Very well. Ms. Sarno, your first witness.
Wait a minute. This is insane. Clearly, I'm the victim here.
Mr. Chandler, you are being charged with murder in the first degree.
What the hell?
It's the prosecution's contention that through your corporation, Pentridge Pharma, you willingly and with premeditation engineered a situation that caused thousands of deaths. What is your plea?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
One by one, the witnesses rise in response to Chandler.
You killed my daughter.
You murdered my son.
You took my husband.
You destroyed my life. You shattered my career.
This is nonsense.
That is for this court to determine.
Where's my attorney? I'm entitled to representation.
Mr. Chandler's representation was supposed to be here, Judge.
This is highly unusual.
His attorney did confirm the date and time of this trial.
Mr. Chandler, I'm afraid you'll have to defend yourself.
Are you kidding me? I need my phone. Where's my phone?
Mr. Chandler, everyone knows there are 2 places cell phones are not allowed. This courtroom and the theater.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Sounds about right.
Your Honor, it's clear who is to blame for the tragedies incurred by Mr. Chandler's actions. Witnesses?
Designers cooked the potions,
and people are addicted.
The longer someone takes them, then the less the pain's restricted.
A calculated cocktail that builds a real addiction. You can contain all the pain, so there's a crazy contradiction.
It's evil how they crafted it, a drug so sure to evil. The makers are to blame, so we should put them all in jail.
The drugs were sold by people whose motives are quite clear now.
They didn't care who took them, and they're acting cavalier now.
We know the awful truth is they knew about the danger.
The pills would eventually lose their power.
It would be a real game changer.
It's evil how they sold it out. Addicted, sick and frail. The sellers are to blame, so we should put them all in jail.
The doctors gave prescriptions, and they claimed they never knew the danger of addiction or the deaths that they'd give rise to. They took an oath that's sacred. They knew what they were doing. They should have read all of the studies done, and the dates are now accruing.
It's evil how they dosed it out. Addicted, sick and frail. The doctors are to blame, so we should put them all in jail.
You hired the designer,
Directed all the sales.
you lied to the physician. Distribution tipped the scale.
You made your billions quickly, shredding records all the while.
And now all you do is you pass the blame in a plot that's sick and vile.
It's evil how you buried facts with greed beyond the pale. Got rich on people's misery with these drugs you knew would fail. It's you who are to blame, and
We will see you go to jail.
we'll see you go to jail. We'll see you rot in jail.
The witnesses are pretty upset, and who can blame them? The courtroom becomes a scene of chaos.
Order! Order!
The witnesses sit and collect themselves.
Your Honor, this is a lynching. How am I supposed to defend myself?
With the truth, Mr. Chandler. Start with the truth.
Your Honor, I'd like to call my first witness, Dr. Richard Gale.
Dr. Gale, please come forward.
When will I get my turn to speak?
In due time, Mr. Chandler. I'd like to hear from the doctor first.
Dr. Gale stands and crosses to the witness chair. Gale places his hand upon the book.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Darno rises and approaches the witness.
Dr. Gale, what is your profession?
I'm a surgeon.
I see. And what was your experience with Mr. Chandler and his product?
I object. I've never met this man in my life.
Oh, that's true, but you did write to me and send several emails.
I have no memory of that.
Your Honor, I'd like to present the following evidence for your review. Emails from Mr. Chandler to Dr. Gale.
In these emails, you will see that I questioned Penchant Farm about the strength of its new opioids, particularly OxyContin and fentanyl. I was told that these drugs were less addictive because they more gradually released painkillers into the bloodstream.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce an email in which the defendant makes clear his efforts to mislead the public about the dangers of his drugs. There's also an affidavit validating the authenticity of this email.
I object. I've never seen this evidence.
Apparently, you have. This affidavit confirms it. You wrote it. You saw it.
Dr. Gale, did you prescribe these medications based upon Mr. Chandler's claims they weren't as addictive?
Unfortunately, I did. When I noticed a sharp increase in overdoses amongst my patients, I consulted with other physicians. We shared studies and learned that OxyContin is actually twice as powerful as morphine. And fentanyl? Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more powerful.
And what did you do then?
I stopped prescribing the drugs, but my patients were desperate. You see, they soon developed a tolerance. You see, these drugs gradually become less effective and their pain receptors become more sensitive.
So the patients began to experience even more pain?
Yes, and with nowhere to go for relief, I'm afraid many resorted to illegal drugs.
So, Chandler and his company deliberately lied to promote sales and mislead the medical community about the dangers of his drugs?
Absolutely. That bastard purposefully misled all of us.
And suddenly a man sweeps into the courtroom, armed with stacks of papers. He is all business and takes over the proceedings with the utmost confidence. Chandler's hero has arrived.
Your Honor, apologies. I'm Kevin Hicks, attorney for Mr. Chandler. I only now receive word of my client's arrest.
Kevin! Thank God.
Don't worry, sir. I've got this. I was briefed on the way here.
Attorney Hicks examines the judge, the witnesses, and the jury. That would be you, dear audience. He quickly determines his best strategy is to fight for a quick dismissal. Hicks addresses the judge and witnesses.
In pain they sought solutions, they'd hit some kind of wall. And when it came, they passed the blame. But who here made the call? They wanna play the victim, say we should take the fall. They've had it rough, they've had enough. But who here made the call? They made a choice, they made the call. Nothing to do with my client at all. They made a choice, gave it a shot. They claim my client had some evil plot, gunning for some of the riches he's got. My client is the victim, it's not our fault at all. It's clear this case is a disgrace. It's not our fault at all, 'cause you all made the call.
An awkward moment. It's food for thought.
Well, Your Honor?
You know, Mr. Hicks, it's a very compelling argument.
Your Honor!
Quiet, Miss Sarno, I'm thinking.
The judge turns to address the witnesses.
Do you have any evidence that anyone was forced to take these medications?
The witnesses become pensive, some looking around at one another.
And is there evidence of due diligence on the part of the plaintiffs? Did they research these new drugs they were being prescribed?
The witnesses look perplexed.
Well then, I'm inclined to agree with the defense. This lawsuit may in fact be without merit.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I address the court?
Be brief, Mrs. Chandler, and I remind you that I'm still considering whether or not to dismiss.
Understood. I'd just like to say I feel terrible about what these people have gone through. But as CFO of my corporation, I was not involved in any campaign to mislead. I know how those emails must look, but I swear I was completely unaware of any harm our medications were causing to the community.
Your Honor, this is simply untrue. We would like to call Mr. Chandler's ex-wife as a character witness.
Mrs. Chandler rises and takes a seat in the witness chair. She removes the hat and sunglasses, which until now had concealed her identity.
Hello, Richard.
I object, Your Honor. Mrs. Chandler is a bitter ex-wife. The divorce was acrimonious, and her testimony will be anything but objective.
I'll take that into account, Mr. Hicks. You may proceed, Miss Chandler.
Thank you, Your Honor. You've asked me to speak to his character. I've consented because it is right. Although this man hasn't much character, his sheer chutzpah is just out of sight. And you know I'm right, Richard. He bribed the FDA, he demonized the sick. The people tried to sue, but then the charges never stick. He paid physicians too, so settlements galore. And he stigmatized the addicts as he watched his profits soar. Oh, he knew what he was doing. All the people he was screwing. As the crisis here was brewing. Oh, he knew, yes, he knew. He He's moving money now, you better settle fast. He's shredding all the evidence with his profits unsurpassed. I have a dozen files that proves all this is true, and that he's just a liar when he said he never knew. Oh, he knew what he was doing. All the people he was screwing, all the evidence accruing. Oh, he knew, yes, he knew. And now you've got a case with evidence that's real. You'll prove that he is guilty with a truth that will reveal. He knew what he was doing. All the people he was screwing as the crisis here was brewing. Oh, he knew, yes, he knew, yes, he knew.
Your Honor, I request a short recess.
Yes, I imagine you do. Very well. We will take a 15-minute recess.
The judge pounds the gavel and rises to exit the courtroom. Witnesses are escorted out as Hicks approaches Chandler. This doesn't look good for our anti-hero at all. A lesson to us all, stay friends with your exes. So let's see what tricks Mr. Hicks has up his sleeve. Hicks and Chandler are finally alone.
Jesus, Kevin. Where the hell were you?
Sorry, sir. I was in court with the Freeman case.
He hasn't settled yet?
He's upset we want to seal the record. He wants the information to come out for the public.
Offer him more.
I don't know if he'll take it, sir. He's pretty emotional about the whole thing.
Dig up some dirt on the old woman.
There isn't any. I've tried.
Come on. These housewives eat Xanax like it's candy. Can't you check her prescriptions?
I'm telling you, sir, it's a dead end.
We offered $2 million, for Christ's sake. That's more than that old man will ever see in his lifetime.
It won't bring back his dead wife, sir.
Are you getting soft, Hicks?
No.
I mean, how old was she anyway? 80-something? How many years did she have left, really?
They were married 6 to 8 years, sir. I'm quite lost.
Well, screw it. Just keep him in court, then. You can't afford to keep at this much longer.
I don't know, sir. His daughter testified today. You had to see the jury's faces.
What do you mean?
She was pretty compelling. It was hard to hear.
My mother was a healthy woman all her life. But in the last year, she started showing signs of dementia. And then she had the fall and her back. Well, I knew it was bad when my mom, who never even took an aspirin, agreed to go to the doctor. We believed her doctor when he said that fentanyl wasn't as addictive as the other painkillers. Doctors are supposed to know these things, right?
Fairy tale lovers never part. That is princess right from the start. Everyone loved them, never a fight. Mom and her hero, his shining light. Now daddy's destroyed 'cause he lost his true love. He cries as he prays to his God up above. He can't understand it. It doesn't seem fair. He lost his one purpose. He's going nowhere. Time robbed her memory. It happened so fast. Laughter and joy now. Things from the past. Pain now constant. on purpose. He's going nowhere. One pill too many took her away. His mind a mess now, can't find his way. Just wants his wife back, just wants her home. She was his life, he's nothing alone. Now Daddy's destroyed 'cause he lost his true love. He cries as he prays to his God up above. He can't understand it, it doesn't seem fair. He lost his one purpose, he's going nowhere. He lost his one purpose, he's going nowhere.
So the woman took too many pills. Is that our fault?
The doctor claims he was misinformed about fentanyl. He blames Pendrick Pharma and you specifically.
What a cop-out.
There is evidence supporting his claim, apparently.
Really?
I'm afraid so.
Well, shit.
The jury's in deliberation.
I want you to go back and offer the family more. I'll double my offer.
I'll make a few calls in the next recess. Meanwhile, I think we should focus on this case.
Have you got a strategy?
Actually, I do. I have a new angle and a new witness.
We need to take a look at whatever evidence my ex brought with her.
Yes, sir. I'll be sure to request it.
Break over, and here comes the judge. The judge, witnesses, and police officer file in.
The case against Richard Chandler and Pentridge Pharma will now continue.
This is the craziest courtroom I've ever seen.
And he's seen a few, believe me.
Don't worry, sir. We've got a plan.
Certainly hope so. I pay you enough.
The court will now hear the statements from the defense.
Finally.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Sheriff Wyatt to the stand.
Very well.
Sheriff Wyatt rises and takes a seat in the witness chair.
Sheriff, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me Jesus.
Sheriff Wyatt, you are sheriff of Bartram County in Ohio, correct?
That's correct.
Over 200 people died of drug overdoses in your county last year. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, as I understand, you have banned Narcan from being carried by your deputies. What is Narcan, sir?
Well, it's a very expensive drug.
And what is its purpose, Sheriff?
Supposedly, if you give it to a drug addict when they're having an overdose, you can basically prevent the overdose.
So Narcan is effectively a drug that saves the lives of dying opioid users, correct?
I suppose so.
Now, why would you ban a life-saving drug from being used by your deputies?
I don't believe it will make a difference.
You just said the drug will save lives.
Look, if these people want to take these dangerous drugs, they're going to take them. There's nothing I can do to stop it.
So in other words, the addicts will just keep taking drugs no matter what, right?
Objection! The defense is simply adding to the stigma of drug addiction, Your Honor. Individuals struggling with addiction are not on trial here.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Hicks?
Your Honor, this crisis is far more complicated than most people realize. My client is a scapegoat. He's being charged with the murder of addicts. Addicts who are compelled to continue feeding their addiction, as the sheriff has testified.
And why should the taxpayers pay the bill? It's not their fault these degenerates want to get high.
Your Honor!
You strike the last comment from the record. Sheriff White, stick to answering the questions and keep your opinions to yourself, please.
Your Honor, all we're doing with this Narcan is bringing these addicts back. We aren't curing them, and it's expensive as hell.
Sheriff, to your knowledge, is there a law that says your deputies must carry Narcan?
No, there isn't. And until there is, we will not be carrying a drug that gives people permission to wreck their lives and the lives of everyone around them.
You don't hold pharmaceutical companies responsible.
Hell no. I've seen it time and time again. These people are going to get high through whatever means. If they can't get the pills, hell, they'll sniff glue until they pass out.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Sheriff, how long have you been sheriff of Bartram County?
About 8 years.
And what did you do before that?
I was a deputy.
I see. I see that Bartram County has had a steep rise of deaths due to opioid overdoses in the past 10 years.
It's a national crisis, in case you haven't heard.
Yes, that's true. But your county has double the overdose deaths of any in your state.
What are you getting at?
Sheriff, do you have any children?
The sheriff begins to squirm.
I, do not.
You had a daughter, did you not?
Yes.
What happened to your daughter, sir?
I don't see how this is relevant.
I object, Your Honor. The witness's personal life has nothing to do with our trial.
Miss Sarno, do you have a point here?
I do, sir, if you'll indulge me.
Get to it.
Sheriff, how'd you lose your daughter?
She had an accident.
What kind of accident?
She had a car accident and she was in a lot of pain.
Your daughter was prescribed opioids for that pain, wasn't she?
She didn't die from those. She lost her way. She fell into the wrong crowd.
Isn't it true that your daughter became addicted to Oxycontin, and when her doctor cut her off, she became addicted to heroin?
She was poisoned by good-for-nothing addicts. She was a good girl. She was a sweetheart, but those bastards ruined her.
Miss Sarno, the sheriff's daughter is not on trial here.
No, she isn't. But the defense is trying to insinuate that Mr. Chandler had nothing to do with this crisis. And they're using the sheriff to bolster a false theory that the addicts are to blame. The sheriff can't be impartial here, sir.
What do you know? You haven't seen them? All those zombies wandering around the alleys of our town, scratching at their arms, picking at their scabs, preying on our children.
Sheriff, you need to sit down.
I hope they all die. I won't save a single one. Maybe if they all die, we can clean up our towns and forget this sad chapter forever.
Sheriff, if you do not sit down, I'll have you arrested and held in contempt.
These people will keep drugging. My daughter wouldn't stop. I tried everything, and no one was around when she overdosed. I didn't know what happened to her for 5 days. They found her body in a dumpster. Those filthy addicts left her in a dumpster and never told a soul.
Please remove Sheriff Wyatt.
As a police officer removes the sheriff and takes him off stage.
She didn't get the benefit of Narcan. Why should they, huh? Why should they?
Your Honor, we contend that my client is not responsible for the abuse of his product. The vast majority of those who overdose make a choice to live the kind of lifestyle that leads to these admittedly devastating circumstances.
Objection! A recent CDC report shows that opioid addiction impacts people of all ages and incomes. Babies, adolescents, senior citizens are all affected. Believe me, it is not a choice for them. Even people living in million-dollar houses are among the victims.
Oh, come on! We all know it's the junkies and bums who are getting addicted. Dirty little delinquents who are the scourge of society.
You can imagine that this does not sit well with our witnesses, many of whom have loved ones they've lost to the disease of addiction. Lori Batorf, a witness, jumps up and addresses Chandler.
Our kids were not delinquents. My son was a good boy, a sweet boy. He could have done so much good.
The perfect little boy with bright and sunny smiles. It's funny how he never cried despite so many trials. His daddy left us both before Sam learned to speak. Yet he became a gentle soul who cared about the weak. And then you get a call, your heart forgets to beat, your lungs forget to breathe, and you can't feel your feet. Yes, when you get that call, your life don't mean a thing. You wish you hadn't answered when your phone began to ring.
The scholarship she won, it seems so pointless now. If she forgot we loved her, well, I swear I don't know how. My happy little girl, with big dreams she would share, I ache to hold and kiss her, but I know she isn't there. And then you get a call, your heart forgets to beat, your lungs forget to breathe, and you can't feel your feet. Yes, when you get that call, your life don't mean a thing. You wish you hadn't answered when your phone began to ring.
An athlete on the field, so disciplined and strong. A leader who rejected drugs, he knew that they were wrong. I can't believe it's true. Such pain I can't describe. An accidental overdose on drugs he was prescribed. And then you get a call. Your heart forgets to beat. Your lungs forget to breathe. And you can't feel your feet. Yes, when you get that call, your life don't mean a thing. You wish you hadn't answered.
You wish you hadn't answered
When your phone began to ring. Yes, when you get that call, your life don't mean a thing. The pain will never leave, and there's no drug to dull that sting.
Your Honor, no one is disputing that these so-called witnesses have suffered a great loss. The question we all need to answer is, who's responsible?
Ms. Sarno, do you have any evidence that the defendant is in any way directly responsible for these deaths?
Actually, yes, Your Honor. During the recess, we were given a file by Mr. Chandler's ex-wife containing several documents. These documents prove he targeted communities hit hard by unemployment. He also focused on industries where injuries were prevalent, such as coal mining. Chandler flooded these areas with free samples and aggressively pushed physicians to prescribe these more addictive medications.
Objection. The defense has not seen this evidence, Your Honor.
Ms. Sarno?
We are happy to share this evidence with the defense, Your Honor.
Counselors, in my chambers.
The judge indicates that the attorneys should excuse themselves and meet him in a location off stage. He then addresses the witnesses.
We will take a short recess.
The judge rises to exit the courtroom, leaving Chandler and the witnesses, who all look baffled. They don't know what to do. Finally, one of the witnesses speaks.
That was my community, the one hit hard by unemployment. When the factory closed, we lost half of the town's jobs.
My son went to college in a coal mining town. Full scholarship. I have so much guilt about letting him go there. I'll always wonder if I let him stay nearby.
Don't go there, honey. It's not your fault. It's not anyone's fault, other than my son of a bitch ex-husband.
I don't think we're supposed to be talking right now.
Oh, shut up, Richard. Court isn't in session right now. We can say anything we want.
What about the jury? You're tainting their opinion.
You all won't say anything, right?
Look, your husband's a businessman, right?
I'm right here.
So what? He lied about those drugs.
But people could have checked up on the facts, right? Figured out the truth before they put those pills in their mouths.
I like this woman.
Zip it, Richard.
What the hell are you implying? That my daughter deserved to die because she didn't read fine print?
I'm so sorry for your loss. I understand it, I do, but I don't think we can keep blaming the drugs.
I'm not blaming the drugs. I'm blaming that man who put them out there.
People have been overdosing forever. Why has it gotten so bad lately?
Isn't it obvious? Corporate greed. Plain and simple.
Maybe, but I just think there's more to it.
Empty storefronts, boarded windows, suffering is all that you see. Streets full of junk and debris. My little dying town. Hungry children, worried mothers, digging in dumpsters for food, bone fanatics, weary homeless, hopeless becoming unglued. My little dying town. Homecoming queens and state championship dreams. Neighbors so happy to share. Jobs disappear, city turns a deaf ear. So unfair, not a prayer. Same sorry story from folks everywhere. Need an angel, need an answer. Lost dreams and lives they don't like. Politicians have ambitions, and people are left high and dry. My little dying town. My little dying town.
Finally, someone speaks the truth. There are complex socioeconomic factors at work here. This crisis is.
Aha, you admit it. This is a crisis and one of your making.
What are you talking about?
Come on, Richard. All that research you did to find your targets, places where people were desperate, places where doctors were willing to do the unthinkable.
All lies. Fake news.
Those memos I brought prove it's all true.
Janice, what did you do?
You'll see, darling. I don't want to spoil the surprise.
Something tells me Chandler isn't fond of surprises or waiting for them, but he might not have to wait long because just then, the judge and both attorneys enter the room, all return to their seats.
Mr. Chandler, I've just reviewed a number of verified emails and memos that clearly show that you underplayed the potency of your medication. They also show that you did indeed target areas with severely depressed economic environments. Do you have something to say for yourself before I roll on this evidence?
Well, Your Honor, without seeing the documents in question, I can't comment on whatever it is you're...
Mr. Chandler, I think we need to talk.
What? Why?
Sir, the evidence is quite damaging. We may want to discuss a plea.
For murder in the first degree? Are you crazy?
Sir, if I may.
Hicks whispers in Chandler's ear at some length. He grows more and more pale. Chandler is clearly screwed. Finally, Hicks stops speaking. Chandler swallows. He thinks, at long last.
May I address the court?
Objection!
I asked the defendant if he has something to say, counselor. Apparently he has something to say. I'll allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor. While it may be true that appearances seem to indicate an unorthodox approach to marketing my products.
Unorthodox? Unbelievable.
Miss Chandler, you will keep your opinions to yourself.
I never intended any harm to these fine people, or indeed anyone. In fact, I've settled a number of related cases when there may have been some unintended consequences. Negative outcomes stemming from our rather aggressive attempts to introduce new, perhaps unconventional ways of meeting the needs of patients.
Get to the point, Mrs. Chandler.
Well, Your Honor, what I'm trying to say is...
I do believe there's good in interventions, when it may seem I've lost my way. To tell the truth, I must agree, I've been uncouth, it's plain to see. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. A second chance is all I need. I'll change my ways, I'll really try. In coming days I now see why the road to hell is paved with good intentions. 'Cause if you're hurting, I hope you know it hurts me so much more than words could ever show. I meant to help you, I hope it's clear. My promise to you all is heartfelt and sincere. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I want to thank you all for showing me this truth. It's plain to see I've been a jerk. This better me will get to work. I'll fund new medicines and interventions. You'll see that this road to hell will lead to new inventions and prove I've always had the best intentions.
Chandler slowly returns to his seat. He sits quietly. After a moment,
Your Honor, the defense rests.
Ms. Sarno,
The prosecution rests, Your Honor.
members of the jury, you will now hear the summations of the lawyers.
listen well, dear audience, dear jury members, for you and you alone will decide Chandler's fate. Is he sincere in his remorse? Will he truly change to address the problems of opioids? Or is he simply saying what he needs to say to save his privileged ass? Listen to the attorney's summations and decide for yourselves.
Members of the jury, my client has been charged with murder in the first degree. That's a little extreme, don't you think? Does he deserve such a serious charge when he was simply running a business that provides important medications to people in need? These opioids are only some of the drugs that Pentridge Pharma sells, and they're new drugs. Perhaps they should have been more thoroughly tested before releasing to the public, but my client was trying to help people. He depended upon his chemists to be responsible. And though some of the evidence may seem to implicate him, he's just a man, not a doctor, not a scientist, a man who meant to help. He made some mistakes. Perhaps he should have been more attentive to the emerging data. But he has real remorse, and he is determined to address this issue now that he is all the wiser. But he needs your help. If convicted, he cannot do the good work he is now determined to do. Do the right thing and vote not guilty. My client is a changed man, and he is ready to devote his considerable fortune to real solutions to this terrible, terrible crisis. Thank you.
We will now hear from the prosecution.
Last time I checked, we didn't let people off the hook for murder because they're suddenly sorry. And you have to wonder, is he really? It's awfully convenient, isn't it? Now that we have multiple documents, evidence that proves his complicity in promoting these incredibly powerful drugs to some of our most vulnerable communities, suddenly now he feels remorse? No, Mr. Chandler's only sorry that he got caught. That we have the proof to show that he targeted areas and communities hard hit by unemployment, racial disparity, workplace injuries, and the closing of factories. By flooding these areas with free, highly addictive medications that were designed to stop working eventually, he made billions. Billions of which he is even now siphoning to offshore accounts so that he could protect his ill-gotten gains. Are we really going to let him profit further by creating new drugs to treat the problem he created? How can we trust a man whose only motive is personal financial gain? No. It's time for him to pay for his crimes. It's time for justice. It's time to convict.
Members of the jury, it's time for deliberation. It is up to you to determine the facts based upon the evidence you heard here today. The defendant has been charged with murder in the first degree, yet you may not speculate about sentencing or punishment. You are simply to weigh the facts presented and come to a conclusion about guilt or innocence. Thank you.
The picture of success. Check out his fancy shoes.
A leader in his field, whom no one can refuse. Inherited his wealth, accounts arranged offshore. Had millions at the start, but craves a billion more. Worshipping money, worshipping money will get you so far. Worshipping money, worshipping money will make you a star.
And who will pay the price for all his fancy things? A driver for his car, nice watch and diamond rings.
What choices did he make?
What lives did he affect? What pain did he ignore? What code did he reject? Worshipping money, worshipping money will get you so far. Worshipping money, worshipping money will cost you your soul.
The jury has reached a verdict. Mr. Chandler, please stand.
Chandler does so.
In the case of the People versus Richard Chandler and the charge of murder in the first degree, the jury finds the defendant not guilty.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sarah enters the courtroom with a gun.
No! You won't get away with it! You have to pay!
Someone stop her!
Chandler and Hicks try to run, but Sarah raises her gun. There's an immediate blackout, and we hear the gunfire followed by sirens. The sirens are followed by the sounds of life support equipment in a hospital. After a bit, the lights come up, and we see Chandler in a hospital bed, surrounded by a doctor, a nurse, and an aide.
Where am I? Oh, God, my back!
You're all right, Mr. Chandler. You're in intensive care.
Oh, God, it hurts!
Yes, well, that'll be the medication wearing off. Nurse, push 20 milligrams of oxy.
Yes, doctor.
The bitch! She shot me!
Mr. Chandler, no one shot you. You've been involved in an accident.
I know! That woman, she shot me in court!
He's been in and out of consciousness all day, doctor. Going on about a trial.
What are you talking about? Oh, God! Get me something stronger for the pain! Whatever this is, it's not working!
Nurse, where's his chart?
What are you doing? Please, I'm in agony!
How long have we been giving him oxycodone?
It's been 3 weeks.
More! I need more!
He kept waking up screaming. As you instructed, we managed his pain to he'd rest and heal.
What, 3 weeks? What are you talking about?
Mr. Chandler, you were in a car accident. A taxi ran into you while you were standing outside your office building about 3 weeks ago. You've been in and out of consciousness for the last week.
No, that can't be right.
You have multiple fractures, abrasions, and nerve damage.
What are you giving me? It's not enough. Give me more.
That's enough. He's already built up a tolerance.
What can I do?
Nothing. You can go.
The nurse exits the room, taking the aide with her, and the doctor sits next to Chandler, who is screaming and writhing in pain.
You probably don't remember me. I was one of the first doctors that you convinced to prescribe OxyContin for back pain. I gave it to my son for a football injury because you said it wouldn't give him a high or a buzz. Less chance for abuse, you said.
Please, please help me.
And when he begged me for more, when he said that the pills weren't working anymore, I thought, how can that be? Is he selling this stuff? Should I be worried?
I don't remember. Please.
Eventually, he stopped talking to me. He grew distant, and then he disappeared.
I'm begging you.
And when I found him, my beautiful boy, cold and gray, with a needle in his arm, well, I prayed. I prayed to that God in heaven of yours. And what do you know? My prayers were answered.
I'm sorry, please, don't go.
The doctor leaves the room as Chandler screams and writhes in pain.
Have mercy.
Is this some kind of karmic justice? Or a dream within a dream? One person's private hell created by inner guilt and shame? I think we can all agree that one person's actions can affect so many lives, whether we are witnesses to that effect or not. Maybe we can move forward a bit more compassionately, a bit more considerately, and at the very least agree that this addiction thing is not a moral failing, at least not on the part of the addicted.
Please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The picture of success. Check out his fancy shoes.
A leader in his field, whom no one can refuse. Inherited his wealth, accounts arranged offshore. Had millions at the start, but craves a billion more. Worshipping money, worshipping money will get you so far. Worshipping money, worshipping money will make you a star.
And who will pay the price for all his fancy things? A driver for his car, nice watch and diamond rings.
What choices did he make?
What lives did he affect? What pain did he ignore? What code did he reject? Worshipping money, worshipping money will get you so far.